Your dog wants chicken and cheese, and our next guest wants you to give it to him. You know, if they behave, as a little bit of a reward, as a way to say, do it again, good dog, great dog, the best dogs. I'm Lee Rayburn, and our guest this hour is George Millara, owner of Divine Canine in Madison, a professional dog trainer who can help translate those barks and sometimes bites into what your dog is trying to tell you. And we invite you to our conversation at 1-800-642-1234. That's 800-642-1234. You can send us an email to talk@wpr.org. And George, welcome back.
Lee, thanks for having me, bud. How you been?
I am excited to have you because I see dogs in the neighborhood all the time, and I love each and every one of them. I know it's not my place to go out and let them know that, but I do express that often, and I see a lot of great dog owners out there, and I see a lot of folks who would love to be better at, knowing their dog and speaking with their dog.
Totally. Just on the drive over today, I saw, it warms my heart when I see somebody there was a dog sitting on the street on the sidewalk, and the owner asked him to sit and gave him a couple treats. Another dog passed, and it's just warmed the cockles of my heart, just to see people doing that sort of stuff, making even something as simple as that, but they're just connecting with their dogs and spending time with them. It's so lovely.
This is the way the world should work. We could
Totally.
take a page or two out of treats and sitting at the right time and letting folks pass by peacefully.
Absolutely. And stay out of people's business.
We've already got a call, so let's get right to it, and we'll start with Mary in New London today. Hi, Mary.
Hello.
Hi, Mary.
I have a neutered male Shiba Inu mix. He is either 6 or 8 years old. He is great behaviorally, except with puppies at the dog park. Any dog that is under a year old, he takes it upon himself to go after that dog, grab its neck, and pin it to the ground. And he's never been aggressive, so to speak, but it makes me uncomfortable, and it of course makes everyone else at the dog park uncomfortable when he does that.
I love how you were able to pinpoint dogs under a year, because that's a truly magical number in the development of dogs. So what happens when dogs are going into adolescence, and this is a nice little way to discuss age of dog. So puppies born, and then they're puppies from birth up until about 4 or 5 months old. 4 or 5 months old, they enter into adolescence, depending on the size. Bigger dogs will enter into adolescence a little bit later in life, smaller dogs a little sooner. But on average, your average 40 to 60 pound dog, 4 to 5 months, they're entering into adolescence. Now, at this age, they, up until then, they have this little badge. Puppies have a badge, and they get to say, I'm going to jump up and bite your face. I'm going to act inappropriately. Here's my badge. I have permission to do so. But at a certain age, right when they hit adolescence, they have this huge testosterone spike because they're going into a big a portion of their growth.
Puberty.
Yeah, totally. Doggy adolescence, doggy puberty. So they have this huge testosterone spike, and then what happens is other dogs smell that dog and go, "Oh, you reek of dog. You are no longer a puppy. Your puppy license has been revoked. You are to be tried as an adult." So these little dogs that really aren't doing anything necessarily wrong per se, they reek like an adult dog, and other dogs will overcorrect those dogs. It's like those young adolescent dogs have a kick me sign on them. And it's they're getting bullied and they're getting picked on. Now, part of this is the responsibility of the young dog owner to know that this is going on, but a lot of people don't know this. They just start to see their dog getting attacked at the dog park. The nice thing about your Shiba is that he's delivering what sounds like an appropriate correction, but it's also not his job to do so. So a couple things I'd work on with him. And just to mention too, with that testosterone spike, this has less to do with sexuality and making puppies. It has more to do with building a dog. So ligaments, tendons, bones, they're growing at this age. Think of any teenage kid that's growing and they have these growth spurts and they start to smell a little funny and they start to have acne and they start to have hair in places. So with our dogs, it's similar to that. Now, It's not your dog's job to correct these dogs. So a couple things I would work on at the park is, one, if you can visually identify that there's a young dog in the vicinity, is working on a really, really great recall. So anytime your dog's off and about, Mary, what's your dog's name?
His name is Gus.
Gus. So you're going to work on a really good, strong recall. And the recall, I like to do it, I'd start at home, just working on name recognition in the house. You can ping pong him between family members. Just say his name. When he comes running, grab his collar. Very important. First, you grab his collar and then deliver a bunch of treats. And then ping pong him to the next person, and he's going to be running. This will carry over to the dog park. If you try to practice this at the dog park, it might be too intense and there might be too many distractions. So you want to practice in a distraction-free zone so you can really lay down the foundation and then try it at the dog park. So if you notice that there's a youngish dog around, that's when you're going to practice calling Gus. When Gus comes over, you grab his collar, put him on leash, and quickly scurry by the young dog, create some distance, and then let him off leash again.
So you just start teaching him that he's not the boss, not his place to correct.
He doesn't need to be the aide on the playground. It's not his job to raise that puppy.
Good luck with Gus, Mary, and thank you for calling. When you're saying recall, is it come Gus? Is it Gus come here? Is there a specific command you got to be?
Whatever. I with my dogs, I have like it's more contextual. If my dog is next to me and I say Dolly, she looks at me for information. If my dog is way over there and I say Dolly, it means get over here.
Okay. So it's just the name.
I say name, but a lot of people like to talk, so they like to say come, or mostly it's come. So you call the dog over, but just whatever you use, you want to use the cues consistently, followed by that collar grab. What happens a lot is that the dog will approach and they'll stop like 5 feet away because they know you're going to grab that collar. The top 3 reasons we grab our dog's collar: they're in trouble, and it's time to leave the park. So when we go to reach for that collar, they're like, not yet, and they take off. So by having him understand that collar grab is part of the behavior of coming, and then you deliver treats, it's just going to be commonplace for them.
Mary, let us know how Gus does at the park after some recall exercises, and I hope it all goes well. Thank you for calling. We'll go to Bill in Barnes next. Bill, hi.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I have 2 golden retrievers, one 5 years old and one 5 months old. And they get along great. They romp and play and wrestle all over the house, and then they rest, and then they do it again. And I walk them on a extendable leash, retractable, but usually about 6 feet at a time. And when they get excited about maybe nothing that I perceive, or someone greeting them, or a squirrel in a tree, they grab each other's leashes and roll themselves into a ball of fur. It's just, and usually I got one leg in the mix, and it's really hard to get it disentangled. And other than the comic interlude, I don't know how to make them stop this. The otherwise playful wrestling, they can't do it. Anyway, help me.
Oh, yes. Thank you for calling, Bill. So number one is trying to train both of them at the same time is going to be very, very difficult. And I'd probably, I'm guessing that your older dog walks more politely on leash than your 5-month-old. 5-month-old dogs tend to walk like one of those little white butterflies, just all over the place. So I double down on working with your younger dog, and with a treat pouch in hand full of yummy, yummy treats. Anytime you encounter something that would trigger them to get quote unquote reactive or excited, you're going to pair that with food. So like he sees a cat, stray cat on the street, or a bunny or a squirrel or a person, you're going to ask him to, just sit or something and give him some treats. Now, one of the big things that I train my clients' dogs to do is arousal training. So arousal training is really important because a lot of times people want to, when a dog is really aroused is when they're going to listen the least. Mm-hmm. But it's when we want them to listen the most. So it's really important that we introduce arousal training to a dog so they know what that feels like. And what that looks like in training is you go through something basic like a sit or a down or preferably a stay, and you work on games that are going to have a lot of impulse control. leaving some food on the ground or something where they have to focus. Now, when we train something new, you want it to be done in a sterile environment that's conducive to learning. So they learn it in a nice environment. And then once they understand the behavior pretty darn well, that's when you introduce tug and play. I call this synthetic arousal. It's synthetic because I'm creating it, but it's arousal. I tug, slappy face, wrestle, get the dog all lathered up, and then I go, okay, now that you're nuttier than squirrel poop, can you still think? And then I bring them right back to the focus game. Now, in the beginning, dogs will falter, and they're going to mess up in the beginning. But over time, they're able to flip the switch from aroused to focused, aroused to focused. So this will carry out into the street. When they get aroused, they'll be more responsive to their name. They'll be more responsive to a cue like sit or down, as opposed to you just trying to bark it at them when they're high as a kite trying to get the bunny or the squirrel.
Bill said he didn't really recognize sometimes what would rile them up.
Oh, Bill, you said like a person, bunny, squirrel. There was a trigger of some sort. But if there's nothing now when we talk about equipment too, that brings me to the equipment part.
Yeah.
Those retractable leashes are very, very difficult to manage. When you have to take up the slack, you have to sort of reel them in like a fish. You're like taking up the slack, locking it, and then trying to gather more of the leash into the mechanism. So walking them just on 6-foot leashes can be really, really helpful and prevent them from not only getting tangled but possibly preventing injury.
Do dogs get confused on a retractable leash? Do they?
Verdict's out. Verdict is hazy there because some dogs will think that there's another 2 feet of leash in there and they keep trying to pull. And I think it breaks the connectivity or the Bluetooth connectivity between you and your dog. They're way up ahead. And then when you need them, they're not reliable enough to come close. So I'm not a fan of those retractable leashes for safety reasons first and foremost, and then secondarily for training purposes. I much rather have like a 10, 20 static line that I know how to control.
So arousal training.
Training, yeah.
Do this in an isolated environment before you take the walk, and they're not going to be good at it at first.
Correct.
They're going to fail.
Right.
But
How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Well, you practice. I don't know. I haven't been yet, George, but I'll tell you when I get there. Bill, I hope that helps, and good luck with your golden retrievers. Thank you for calling. George Millara is our guest, owner of Divine Canine in Madison, a professional dog trainer who will help your dog today at 1-800-642-1234. That's 800-642-1234, or send us an email to talk@wpr.org. Kind of curious what it's like to be a dog. I imagine that our senses are a little bit different than what I would perceive my senses are being. And I specifically think about how they are out there smelling everything. Like a good walk is some great smells.
Smell is insane. Like it is crazy how well dogs smell. I don't know if you're familiar with Mark Rober. Mark Rober is a ex-NASA engineer, worked on the Curiosity rover, and then he came up with Crunch Labs. And he does these little packages you can get for your kids, little engineering packages where they build a little something that has to do with engineering, learn a lesson. So on his YouTube channel, he just goes crazy with engineering. So he made like a squirrel obstacle course or whatever. But one of the episodes he had was he hired a handler dog team of search and rescue. And this woman was talking about, the dog and how the dog's smell works. And one of the things she said that blew me away was there could be a room of, say, 4 or 5 people, and everybody gets a piece of paper towel, and they wipe it on themselves. One of those people leaves, and then you allow the dog to sniff the paper towel. The dog says, oh, that smell, that's that person. That smell is that person. That smell is that person. That smell, I don't see him here. That's who I'm looking for. So it's deductive reasoning. It's wild.
You don't think of dogs as having like, Sherlock Holmes style.
And so Mark Rober, he created this thing where he put on like one of those like sterile like Tyvek suits and like to protect the smell. And then along the way he had booby traps for the dog. Like one of them, he had like a remote control car that was spraying like deer urine or something, like just to throw the dog off the scent. And then the only place, so there was like a couple of those little booby traps. The only place the dog got thrown off for about 4 or 5 minutes was he had a giant industrial fan that he ran past, and it blew all the scent particles in one direction. And then the dog got lost for like 4 or 5 minutes, and then picked up the smell, and then found him.
Well, it's like the hounds in the movies, though, right?
Totally.
They can figure out, or you give them a piece of clothing and send them on their way, and they can hunt it down. But that just kind of, I mean, it gives you an idea of how they perceive the world differently. That it's not, they've got sight, right? They can see, but that's not what they use to find their way.
And the sense of smell is just so incredible because they're able to like decode really complex scents, and it requires such intense concentration. And it's like you're giving your dog a job. Like these canine nose work classes and these, like, they're so important for dogs to sniff. That's why I had a client once where he came to me and he said, "Oh God, George, this dog, he's just, he stops and he sniffs." And I go, "Well, how long is he sniffing?" He's like 20, 30 seconds for like each tree. And I'm like a whole 20, 30 seconds? Like, that's not a long time. and that's like reading the paper and sending P-mail, right? They're gathering information. And all of that is important for a dog to do. Remember that they've been at home all day. When you take them for a walk, it's so important to let them sniff more than you think you should.
So when you take your dog for a walk, it doesn't have to be an aerobic exercise. It's more rewarding if it is a nasal exercise.
Sometimes the nasal exercise is more aerobic than the actual physical. Like, you can take any average dog. Let's say you have a 4-year-old dog, and you walk it for 2 miles, brisk walk. That's like Lance Armstrong riding his bike to the corner store to get a quart of milk. Right? That's not going to tire a dog out. Where would you think that? But you allow a dog to sniff, and you go to a local park, you put your dog on a long line, and you scatter some treats in the grass, and they have to sniff in like a little truffle pig walking back and forth looking for their victuals, right? That's what's going to get them nice and tired.
And that would be, that's an adventure, right?
Yeah.
That is an obstacle course, an adventure.
The word they use is sniffari.
A sniffari.
A sniffari. That's
Who are these people coming up with these words?
It's the new phrase like for sniffing. And I love that this is coming to head here, because the sniffing is just so important for dogs. It can also really help them a lot with calming their nervous system. Engaging the nose activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and it can shift a dog into a more relaxed state.
I see a lot of dogs who have anxiety, or a lot of dog owners who are worried about their dog's anxiety level. And there's a connection there between that and their
Absolutely.
nose.
Any of my anxious, fearful dogs, first thing we do, and the clients are like, "Well, I want to get them over the fear." Mm-hmm. And I go, "Yeah, we're going to do sniff work," because that builds confidence. Like when they find the treat in the box, or they find like all these, like they do investigating, it's helping regulate them. Because dogs have dopamine and they have serotonin.
Sure.
They have all the chemicals. And when they're able to be successful that way, it just helps regulate them. It just brings them down. It just brings them down a bit.
Let's go back to your calls now at 1-800-642-1234 or email talk@wpr.org for our guest, George Millar, professional dog trainer. We'll go to Lisa in Middleton next. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, George.
Hi, Lisa.
I have a Wheaton Terrier. I got her from a breeder when she was a puppy during COVID. So she's 6 years old. She's always had some like skittish qualities to her, like issues with thresholds, or especially people with baseball hats and sunglasses on. And some of that stuff we've worked through. But one of my big concerns is she will meet somebody and she'll like them and get along with them. It takes a little bit to warm up. And then the next time they come to the house, it's like a stranger. Mm-hmm. Or if they like leave the house for a little bit and they come back, it's like, oh, there's a different person. So it's almost like she has this weird amnesia. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's typical, if there's a way that I can work with her so she,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite things about Wheatons, it's more of a phrase or a saying. Life is merrier with a Wheaton Terrier. They're like court jesters. They're so much fun. So when we talk about like fear of people, I have a technique that I use, and it's called transfer of value. So I want you to think, what's your dog's name, by the way?
Her name is Josie.
Josie. So Josie, transfer of value. And here's how it works. I want you to imagine open door policy people that could walk in your home and she would be happy to see them, like run up to them, jump on them, and try to lick their face. So what we do is we have those people. I want you to think of that as like the center bullseye on a dartboard. Those are the people you're going to play a couple games with. The first game I play with these dogs is called treat, treat, toss. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make with fearful dogs is like, if Lee, you were coming over my house and I said, okay, my dog's scared of people, here's some treats. You give the dog all the treats and then the dog looks up and goes, oh my God, a stranger. Woo, 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 woo. They start to bark and get upset. Instead, we do treat, treat, toss. That's where you would give my dog 2 or 3 treats and then you take the 3rd or 4th treat and you throw it way behind them. So they have to run and go get that treat. When we're scared of something, what do we want? Distance.
Sure.
Space. So by tossing the treat, you're giving the dog distance. And then at the same time, their brain is switching from stranger danger to food acquisition. Then what does the dog have to do to get more food?
Come back.
Approach.
Yeah.
So we're reinforcing the dog approaching. And then we do treat, treat, toss again, treat, treat, toss again. So with that game, you have everybody that Josie knows play this game, that she loves. Then we have acquaintances, which is the next ring on the bullseye, right? The 50. That's people that she's met a handful of times. She might know them. She warms up a little quicker, but she's still a little uncertain. Now, when these people play treat, treat, toss, she's going to go, wait a second. How do you know this game? Only my loved ones know this game. You must be in the club. So I love CIA operative movies, like Jason Bourne, like that's what. So Lee and I are CIA ops, and we're meeting on an operation in Paris, France. And Lee's there with his bag of groceries with a baguette hanging out.
Nice.
And I see him. He's my contact. I walk over and I say, the baguettes in France are delicious. And he says, but I prefer the croissants. I know he's my guy. He had the secret password. And these games turn into the secret password.
Treat transference, is that what you call it?
The transfer of value is
value.
We're transferring the value of the people that she knows and loves to new people, newish people, and then we introduce strangers. But at that point, she's played all these games. Now, the other game I love to teach is a hand target. Does Josie know how to do a hand target or a touch or a boop?
She knows how to do paw, like give me your paw.
But she doesn't know how to boop her nose to your hand?
Well, she will for attention if she wants to be pet.
No, this is a deliberate behavior. So you can just jump on YouTube and type in hand target or touch, and you'll have 100 videos pop up. But essentially what we do is we teach the dog how to hand target, and this is, again, touching a stranger's hand, but first her loved ones. So we start by teaching the hand target. You teach it to her. Then with family members, so if Lee, let's say the 3 of us were sitting in a room, you would say touch, and you'd point to me and I'd put my hand out. Josie looks for the hand, goes and touches my hand, comes back to you for the food. So this is sort of like the treat, treat, toss, but now she has to engage the person. But it's on her own will. And then she comes back to you for the treat. So by playing these little games where she has to interact in a way with people, it's teaching her that people are safe and she can do it on her own terms. We're not forcing a dog into a situation. We're not forcing them into a place where they're uncomfortable, because the moment we do that, that's where fear settles in, and then that's where nips and bites can occur.
I've only got about a minute here, but what about Lisa's concern that Josie's got amnesia?
I wouldn't. It's not amnesia. It's just there's not enough pattern. There's not enough repetition.
I don't know you well enough yet.
Correct.
I met you a little bit.
I met you once. Once is not a pattern. So if that person came over 4, 5, 6 times and they came with food every time, she would start to remember that person.
A little treat, treat, toss.
Yeah.
After all your loved ones have done treat, treat, toss.
Correct.
And then you get the transfer of value to the strangers, and all of a sudden you're not so much of a stranger anymore.
And then she's like, oh, we're having guests?
That means I'm having treats.
Right.
Let's eat. George Millara, our guest. He is a professional dog trainer. Lisa, thank you so much for the call. Let us know how Josie does with visitors. George is the owner of Divine Canine in Madison, answering your questions this hour at 1-800-642-1234. That's 800-642-1234. Or send us an email to talk@wpr.org. I'm Lee Rayburn, and you're listening to WPR News. What is your dog trying to tell you? And it isn't anything that a treat or two wouldn't help figure out. Our guest is professional dog trainer George Malari. He's the owner of Divine Canine in Madison, and he's answering your puppy questions today and taking your dog on a sniffari. New term for me that I just learned. I'm Lee Rayburn, and you can join our conversation at 1-800-642-1234, 1-800-642-1234. You can also send an email to talk@wpr.org. And George, before we get to the next caller, before we were also talking about dog anxiety, and I guess I want to know what an anxious dog looks like. What are the signs that the dog is having anxiety and that it probably should be addressed?
Well, there's a lot of different types of anxiety, but generally I see fear. And fear is driven by the unknown. So there was a letter from a veterinarian that stated, like, once a puppy has their first round of vaccines, and his argument was that when the puppy's drinking milk from mom, that they're getting colostrum, and that has antibodies in it, that they should be out in public meeting things and not being cavalier and going to a dog park or going to places where they could get sick, but starting to take them places to explore the world. And when I have a puppy client, anytime I have a puppy, we go out and we explore the world. And when we see something scary and the puppy's like, I don't know about that, give them a hot dog. And they're like, oh, I like cement mixers. I like scaffolding. I like tall people. I like short people. I like everybody. So we start pairing the world with food, so that that's the currency that we pay them to understand that everything's okay. Now, one big I love that you brought that up. One big misconception around fear and anxiety is, let's say, thunder phobia or firework phobia, right? Dogs totally freaked out about fireworks or thunderstorms. Well, a lot of people will say, well, you shouldn't coddle the dog. Right? You shouldn't pet them and call them because then you're reinforcing the fear. Hogwash. Hogwash. You cannot reinforce an emotion.
Interesting.
So, here's why I love this debunk, because if my dog was fearful of thunderstorms and the thunderstorm was coming, first they smell that the air smells different, the barometric pressure, the static, everything coming that comes with the storm. It's this little buildup. Now, if my dog's trembling on the couch and I sit next to them and I snuggle them and their breathing changes and they stop panting and they relax and their body's not as stiff and tight, shouldn't my hugging and coddling them make it worse?
Yeah.
But it's making it better.
Yeah.
So hug your dogs if they're scared. It's okay.
I don't know that I could resist.
Right.
It would be...
Right. I'm a dirty hippie. If it cries, if it cries, you pick it up.
That's just good advice from our dirty hippie, George Millar.
Love your dogs.
Love your dogs no matter what.
Right.
Because here's the thing about dogs. They'll love you no matter what, but that's no excuse not to love them back.
Correct.
Yeah. They are a constant lesson in selfless giving, love, and loyalty.
And they live in the moment, like, I'm hungry right now. I'm scared right now. I'm happy right now. And, people always, the complaint I get a lot is like, oh my God, my dog jumps all over me when I get home. I go, yeah, that dog's been at the house all day.
Cooped up all day.
And you're like, you're the best part about their day.
And because they live in the moment, they're not sitting back there dreading the rest of the day before that. They're right there with you right now and couldn't be happier about it.
They're present and they're in the moment.
Well, there's another lesson we can take from dogs.
Absolutely.
Because the present really is all that exists. The past is our recollection, our imagination, and the future is our projection, also our imagination. So we should be in the present because that is what is real.
Love it. Love it.
Well, you took me down that hippie path,
I did.
George.
Come on.
So I just followed where you
Peace,
led.
love, and granola.
And puppies. Let's go to Kay in La Crosse next. Kay, hi.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I really love my dog, too.
Good.
But he is an adopted shepherd. And when I adopted him, I had a border collie. And so he was not reactive when I adopted him. But it was at the end of the pandemic, so he's about 3 now, and the shelter wasn't having any visitors, and he came by transport from Tulsa up here, and he's reactive to other dogs. He's reactive to people who walk by the car because the car is his. He's reactive to visitors. And I've had him to 2 local trainers and 2 online trainers. And one of them actually made him much worse.
Oh.
And he hasn't really gotten better. And I still really like him, but he's so different than any dog I've ever had. My Border Collie has since passed on, and I really would just love for him to be able to walk on a trail and just get past another dog.
How old is he?
It's about 3 now.
Okay.
So, I don't know what to do.
So the trainer, and I'm just shooting from the hip here, but the trainer that made it worse were they using an electric shock collar?
No.
Okay. Oh, that's
they
good.
Would just,
good.
Introduce him to other dogs and say, "Let him bark it out."
Oh,
and,
bark it out.
Yikes. Yeah. So here's my remedy. The way I talk about reactivity in dogs is that he's uncomfortable. There was a funny New York Times piece where they had like how many of this breed does it take to change a light bulb, and the German Shepherd was first. I make sure the perimeter's secure. So when we have a breed specific traits, right? German Shepherds or Shepherds can be quite guardy about what's going on. They're very alert. One of the things that I talk about is, again, pairing. So what we do is we want to punish the bad behavior of barking, but our dog's already telling us that they're uncomfortable. So it might seem counterintuitive, but this is where we feed food. So the first step here is classical conditioning. So, Kay, are you retired? What do you do for work?
Retired right now. I was a nurse, and he's like my 5th shepherd in my life, or shepherd mix. I've my whole life, and I've never encountered this.
So I'm going to use Lee. I'm going to use Lee as an example here.
Good.
So Lee, you work in this beautiful office with all these wonderful people. But let's say there's somebody here that you absolutely despise, right? That you'd like to choke them a little, maybe give them a couple smacks, right? You despise this person. Let's say this person's name is Larry.
Oh my gosh! This is taking a dark turn.
Follow me on this one. So let's say this person's name's Larry, right? Now imagine I cast a Harry Potter spell on you. Uh-huh. You already don't like Larry. He heats up his fish in the microwave.
I love Larry.
I know you do. Fine, George. You work with a George. George.
Oh, I want to
He heats up
that George.
He heats up his fish in the microwave. Different political view.
Oh,
right.
dirty hippie.
So I cast a Harry Potter spell on you, and this one says every time you see George in the office in passing, you're going to get the most violent heartburn you've ever had.
Oh,
is that going to make your relationship to me better or worse?
I'm not going to like you any more than I don't like you already.
So, but this is what we do to our dogs. We're walking down the street, our dogs are barking at another dog, and then we jerk on the leash and we say, "Hey, knock it off. No, don't do that."
I hate this.
Right? So the dog's like, "Oh my God, I thought I didn't like dogs, but this guy flies off the handle when there's dogs around."
And I got to pay the price for it.
So now I take away that Harry Potter spell. I cast another one on you.
What's this one?
This one says every time you see George in the office, you're going to get a warm pop in your pocket, and there'll be $100 bill.
$100?
Where the heck is George?
I love George.
Right.
I want to see George. Let's go find George.
As counterintuitive as it seems to pay when the dog is reacting, you're not paying them because they're barking. You're paying them because the other dog exists. So they start to build an association. So the first part here is Pavlovian, right? Mm-hmm. Pavlov sits on this shoulder here. So in the beginning, we're just feeding anytime they see a dog. And now the most important takeaway from all of this is that it is key that you wait until your dog sees the other dog.
It's not that the treat creates the dog creates the treat.
Correct.
There needs to be a cause effect that your dog can...
Exactly right.
Okay.
Now, people tend to do 3 things when they're on their walk with a reactive dog. Number 1, they wind up on the leash in preparation for the tugging. Mm-hmm. Number 2, they nervously talk to the dog. Oh, okay, be a good dog. You can do it. Or 3, they use food as a distraction. Don't look over there, look over here. And they sort of get the dog away from...
Oh my gosh, I'm guilty of 2 of those 3.
So, but that's classical conditioning as well. And it doesn't take the dog long to learn that anytime their human does one of those 3 things, there's a dog here somewhere.
So it puts them on alert. It makes them ready.
Just by waiting for your dog to see the other dog, that's when you pay. Good boy. And then you can do all 3 of those things.
So they're gonna react. They're gonna react in a barky.
And sometimes even in that moment where they just sort of target the dog with their eyes,
treats.
That's when we start feeding. Good boy. Do you see the puppy? What a good dog. And then their attention's on us. over time. So the first part's Pavlov.
Yeah.
Second part is my friend B.F. Skinner, operant conditioning. So then what happens, there's this magical little moment where my reactive dog sees the other dog
Yeah.
and then turns to me and goes, hey, pay up, there's another one. And the barking subsides because we've built a positive association. And the beauty of this is that we're changing what's called a CER, the conditioned, learned, emotional response. So now dogs aren't a trigger. They're still a trigger, but they're triggering a better response, which is food. And
What about my response, though, where I'm tensing up and I'm starting to talk about, be good, be good, be good, be good?
That matters. That matters, but not as much as people think.
Okay.
If you can fake it till you make it, just happy talk and feed. And
I
make
feel
sure
like
that you're using super high value treats too.
I should get some treats for myself, so I'm not.
I've had clients where I'm like, before you go for a walk, have a glass of wine or just suck on a lolly, like something that's going to just don't forget to breathe, right? Just keep moving forward.
I like this idea, like, chicken and cheese in one, hot dogs in one pocket, and then M&Ms in the other. And then before I get all riled
Right.
up, I pop an M&M and then
Don't eat the wrong bag. Don't eat from the wrong bag.
Nothing wrong with a hot dog and
Right.
some cheese. You just don't want to feed the M&Ms to the dog.
Correct.
That's the way to go. Kay, I thank you for sharing your story, and I hope that works.
Is it
out
possible
for
to get Kay's information? I'd love to just talk to her a little longer about this offline.
you. Kay, hang on the line here, and we'll get your phone number if you are good with that to George, and he can follow up with you and your adopted German Shepherd, and we'll make sure we do some good there. So thanks again. Let's put Kay on hold, and then we'll go to Corey in Dodgeville next. Corey, hi.
Hi, Ray. I'm calling about my sweet dog. She's a rescue. I've had her for 6 weeks. She's just turned 1. And I run a home, or rather, I run a business out of my home. It's a nursery, plants, not people. And I have staff regular staff. Now, the challenge we're having is my sweet little Pippi is a shoe and sock pirate. And I get why she loves them, and I get why she targets the shoes she's targeting because she loves the people. But what do we do about that? We're taking our shoes off when we come in, and she's taking them. I personally have lost 3 pair of shoes in these 6 weeks. And I obviously don't want this happening to my staff. What can we do about this besides just hiding the shoes?
If you could clarify just a little bit, is she going after people's shoes and socks while they're wearing them? Or is this like once you're home and you've taken your shoes and socks off, or both?
No, not when they're wearing them. Once we take them off, she goes for my shoes and socks. She'll go for staff come in, they take their shoes off. Then she's going for the shoes. She's very surreptitious. She takes them, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh no, a shoe is missing. Oh no.
So number one is whenever we have a behavior, especially with a young dog, is making sure that they don't have the ability to rehearse the naughty behavior. I talk about this a lot with window barking. Dog perching on the back of the couch at the big bay window, and they bark, 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 bark. Nobody's giving this dog treats, but every time the dog barks, the mom with the stroller leaves and the UPS man leaves, and the dog says, and stay out. So nobody's giving rewards, but the dog is being rewarded. So we want to stop the rehearsal of behavior. So number one is figuring out a place where shoes and socks can be where she does not have access to them, and being really diligent about that. The second part of this is doing some training. So making sure that there's plenty of things for her to put her mouth on. So making sure that wherever the shoes are, you have like little toys and stuffable toys, because like these young dogs are such little busybodies, and they just want to just go and to get, they're like, this is my brand. I like shoes and socks. So we want to make sure that there's other avenues where she can put her mouth on appropriately so that she has those options. Right now, the only option is the shoes and socks. So we want to make sure that there's like, different types of chews and bones, and some edible, some not. Stuffed Kongs, stuffed toys with like, my go-to mixture is, plain Greek yogurt, peanut butter, and pumpkin.
Oh!
I mix it all together, fill up the Kong, and then I freeze them. And then that gives her something appropriate to work on.
Greek yogurt, peanut butter, and
Canned pumpkin.
frozen in a treat.
Some sort of like stuffable plastic rubber toy.
Man, you should have a cookbook for your dogs.
So when you leave her with the appropriate stuff to work on, it allows her to make better choices. Now, one of the things that I really remind people of, if let's say me, Lee, and you are sitting at your house and we kick off our shoes, and then here comes Pippi, right? She walks past our shoes, she picks up an appropriate dog toy and lays in her dog bed. Nobody says anything. But if she was to pick up a shoe, she's getting chewed out.
Well, she's getting attention.
That too. But she's going to get in trouble. She's like, oh man, I'm like, but we want to pay her for making good choices. We always want to teach what is yes and reward what is yes. And if you think about Pippi's brain, right? If we opened up her little head,
1 year old, been at the house for 6 weeks now,
and we look into her head, you'd see bookshelves. But instead of books on the bookshelves, there's piggy banks, and all the piggy banks have labels on them: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sit down, stay calm. Chew the shoes. Eat the socks. Chew on the plants. All the behaviors are there. We have this luxury with our treat pouch to take treats and put them in the piggy banks that we want to hold value. So if you focus more on the yes and less on the no, the yeses will happen more.
I've seen a lot of dogs that are sort of shoe hounds, though, or have some sort of weird foot fetish. Does that go back to their scent in some way? Because we've got stinky feet?
Not stinky feet. It's our smell. Oh. This is my human.
But it also gets attention, too. When you grab that shoe, all of a sudden you're
chased.
in a game.
I get chased.
You get to play a game.
It's like those old the 30s spy movies where it's like, I have the microfilm.
I'm off.
I'm off.
Come and get me if you can. And then you have to because shoes aren't cheap.
Nope, they're not.
Oh, Corey, I wish you the best. And good luck with that shoe thief. There are plenty of shoe thieves out there, and perhaps all they need is a good alternative and some reward for making the right choices. And, I guess rewards for getting attention for the right behavior.
Yep.
But you don't want to ignore a shoe thief after they make off with your $80 sneakers.
No, and sometimes with certain dogs, I'll just reward a retrieve. So it's almost like a Turkish bazaar where the dog steals the shoe and I just walk over and I take the shoe and I give him a treat.
Oh.
Then they start bringing you the shoes instead of going into a corner and chewing on them.
Oh, I'm dropping this off. I'm here to pick up.
You left this over there.
Yeah. Here's a tip.
Thanks.
Thanks, delivery guy.
Keep the change.
Corey, good luck with your baby, and thank you so much for rescuing. I appreciate that. Let's go to Carly and Kiwani next. Hi, Carly.
Hi.
What do you have for us today?
So we rescued they thought she was a Beagle Dachshund mix last June. I saw her litter mate's DNA tests on Facebook, and they said she's like 30% Chihuahua, but she does look a lot Beagle. She's about 19 pounds. And when we take her for a walk, I have 2 small kids. We have her on a harness, and she pulls so hard that sometimes her front feet are floating, and she's just back legs. And we thought maybe it's because my older is far ahead on a scooter, and she needs to be following her faster to protect her. But then I'd go with just one in a stroller, and she's still pulling. We do a retractable leash. We have a regular thick 6-foot leash. I will try to just stop her calmly when she pulls and pet her, and there she just wants to go. And then she gets so tired and she's panting, and I've had suggestions about getting like a clip in the front so that when she pulls, she turns, and she doesn't want to do that, or get a harness. I just don't know what I should try first to try to get her to slow down so she can enjoy a walk.
Yeah, loose leash walking can be a burden to train because, the way I look at it is, when we grab our dog's leash to go for a walk, the dog's like, yeah, we're going for a walk. This is, but I got to go walk with this glacier. We walk so slowly.
Ouch.
And they're designed to run and go quickly. So going back to treats. So teaching what is yes, we were just talking about this, where, what's your dog's name?
Missy.
So what I would start off with, and adding the kids in the stroller might be a little too much in the beginning. Like I said on a previous caller, we want to start training in a sterile environment, like your living room. She's a little dog, so you can practice in like a wider space in your home. And what I do is I just have my dog following me. So I have some treats, and this is done off leash. right? So you just have your dog in the house, and when they start following you, you have some treats in your hand, and when they're walking next to you, as you walk around the kitchen island, you walk around the couch, you just start feeding her next to you, right? We want to teach the yes behavior, and that's you're teaching her location. So imagine if I told you there's 2 ATMs, and one of them was broken and spitting out 20s, and the other one was not spitting out 20s.
I'm there.
Yeah, right? So you're teaching her where the reinforcement zone is happening.
Which is right around you.
Right next to you.
Yeah, okay.
At your pace.
Uh-huh.
So in the beginning, it's just feeding her pretty steadily as you're walking down, walking around your house. Then you start to walk further without paying. Now, the one thing, the glue between the treats is your verbal praise. And the verbal praise doesn't need to be her name or walk nicely. Just talk about what's happening. Who's my pretty little girl? You're walking so nicely. Right?
Some sweet nothings.
Some sweet nothings. So you're walking around the house, and then you start stretching out the delivery of your treat.
Okay.
So you're happy talking. That's keeping her next to you in hopes that the treat's coming soon. And then when you pay, you just paid for duration of how long she was next to you. And then you stretch it out more and more and more. Now, when you go outside, you start at square one because you have the whole world in front of you. You got all the, like I said before, they're sniffing for pee mail. They're reading the paper. They're sniffing, and there's rabbit pee and all the different types of delicious smells out there. So there's much more distraction. So working slowly. I like working in parking lots for leash walking because it's pretty like asphalt parking blocks, and that's it.
Yeah.
And there's going to be less smells in the vicinity, and you just practice just walking around and walking around and walking around, and then feeding
the same
her.
way you did around your house.
Correct.
With sweet nothings and
Yep.
treats.
And then and I would get her off the retractable. I do love what you said about getting the front clip harness.
Oh.
Some pet stores will allow you to bring your dog to the pet store where you can try the harnesses on so you're getting a good fit. And if the employees at the pet store are good at what they do, they'll be able to fit her nicely for a harness. There's a few on the market, but the hard part about front clip harnesses is that there's a lot of different body shapes of dogs. So if you have a Doxy Beagle, you said, their body shape might be a little different. So finding the right fit might be you might have to try on a couple different harnesses, but make sure it's a front clip, no pull harness. And be careful too. Beagles and Doxies will have like less hair under their armpits, so there can be some chafing issues that happen. It happens a lot with pitties. They have no hair there to protect them. So some harnesses come with like an extra padded velvety underarm strap that prevents the chafing.
I had that happen to my sister's dog. Did not have a lot of hair under there, and we got the harness, and it was worse for a while.
Yeah.
Until we got a better fitting harness.
Yeah, before they came out with like the softer belt chest strap, I would just get moleskin that you put in your shoe and just get a big piece and just wrap it around and tape it.
All right, Carly. So for Missy, it's some sweet nothings and lots of treats. It starts around the house. It moves to maybe a parking lot. And when you think you're ready, you take her on that great sniffari and make sure she stays close.
You like sniffari?
I like it better than the other one you dropped. But I'm thinking about the Beagle Dachshund Chihuahua mix. That is quite a mix.
Right. It's a nose with paws.
Cassandra called to ask if dopamine anchoring motivates people. If it motivates people, does it work on pets too? Do you know?
It really depends. I would say yes.
Yeah.
But it really depends on the dog, and again, what other training they've had previously. Like, I feel like dopamine anchoring would have to be done. You have to train for that a little bit because you want to make sure that they understand like the process, because sort of like us, like having a checklist and checking things off. That's how we get our dopamine when we're flipping through our phone.
Feel good.
Right. So once they understand the process of the games, the dopamine happens on its own.
Oh, and that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like we've talked about nothing but games this hour for your dog. And how can that be a bad thing?
Right.
George Millar, I love the way you see the world, or maybe sniff the world in Dog's case. And I want to invite you back here because you do a lot of good for our very best friends.
I love being here.
It's a pleasure. George Millara is a professional dog trainer and the owner of Divine Canine in Madison, and I think it was Kay that will follow up with you down the road and off the air. Our conversation about dogs continues next hour. I'm Lee Rayburn, and you're listening to WPR News. Your dog loves to play, but what do they love to play with? What are their favorite toys? What's the worst dog toy you've ever actually spent your money on? And what are the best games to play with your pet? It's the Lee Rayburn Show, and our next guest is Claudine McAuliffe. She's been training dogs since 1997 in southeast Wisconsin. In 2010, she started a behavior department at the Humane Animal Welfare Society of Waukesha County, enabling over 100 dogs with at-risk behaviors to be successfully adopted. She's the author of the book Mindful Dog Teaching: Reflections on the Relationships We Share with Our Dogs, and recently a resident of Iron River, where she continues her training and behavior practice today. If you have a question for our guest, or you'd like to mention your favorite toy, least favorite toy, or your dog's best game to play, you can join us at 1-800-642-1234. That's 800-642-1234, or send an email to talk@wpr.org. And Claudine, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Lee. It's just such a pleasure to be here.
Love talking about dogs and any excuse we can find, and I'd say that play is probably one of the best reasons to talk about dogs, because I feel like they can teach us a thing or two about it, Claudine.
Well, I sure do agree with you there, Lee. And, to a dog, just about anything can be a toy. Sticks, balls, baby turtles, your favorite shoes. Yes, baby turtles. Of course, not all of these are safe for all dogs, and even the most carefully designed toys can be unsuitable for some dogs. But I got to ask you, Lee, do you know what the most affordable dog toy is that you can give your dog?
I'm going to go, the most affordable dog toy that I can give my dog, I would just think wrestling, just wrestling on the floor or rolling around, but that's not a toy at all. I can't think of one that would be, I feel like they all cost something, Claudine.
But you're so close.
Oh.
The most important toy and the most affordable is yourself.
Yeah.
Your engagement. So through play and toys, we engage with our dogs and build stronger bonds. And dogs want us because we've bred them to be that way over thousands of years, and we are their main toy. They seek us out. So all of the other ones, the squeak toys, the braided old T-shirts, puzzle toys, everything, this is just a way of connecting our dogs to us.
I'd never thought of that before, that the toys aren't what they're playing with. They're playing with you, and the toy is the thing that connects you and your dog together.
You got it. So how many times have you seen dogs or even kids with boxes of wonderful toys, and how many of them do they actually play with? But if you start engaging with them and you pull the toy out of that box and wave it around and look like you're having fun with it, you get your dog's attention, I bet.
So what would you consider among the best toys to connect you to your best friend?
This is so variable. Dogs have preferences just like humans have preferences. And there's a variety of things out there. They don't need to be expensive. But if you show most dogs something round, a ball, especially something they can get in their mouth, they love balls as much as humans do. And fortunately, there's a lot of different balls out there, and I've seen dogs love to use the big jolly balls that horses push around pastures. Some dogs just really go crazy over that. And the exercise balls that are huge, they can kind of push those around with their noses. In fact, there's even a sport now that has dogs pushing those big exercise balls around, a course, I believe. Small balls like tennis balls, those are very convenient to pick up and throw. And then there's the chuckets that you can actually put these tennis balls into and throw them a very long distance. I've found that balls also roll up and down stairs very, very conveniently. I had a very brilliant dog a few years ago, quite a few years ago actually, and he taught me how to play a really unique game with a tennis ball on the stairs. He would go up to the top of the stairs, and he had his ball, and he kind of nosed this around on the top step, and I'd be waiting down below, 14 steps below, he would then very gently push that ball over the top step, and it would start to bounce down all of the steps. It was my job at the bottom to catch the ball and then to throw it back up to him so that he could repeat the process. And he would do this repetitively for, 8, 10, 12, as many times as I cared to play it. And it was so endearing, and it drew us closer together because he taught me something. We're very much about teaching our dogs things, but if we really pay attention to our dogs, they teach us wonderful and amazing things, and I cherish that game that he taught me.
You were playing catch on the stairs. It sounds like a lot of fun. And
it was amazing.
There are always lessons to learn. But I have a tennis ball horror story from a friend of mine whose dog did not survive eating part of a tennis ball. And I think it was a dog with jaws, and it could tear a tennis ball apart. It could probably tear just about anything apart. And, if you... It's just I think you need to be wary or attentive and remind yourself that these toys are the conductor between you and the animal, and sometimes your probably safest bet is to make sure you're present there when you're playing.
You're absolutely right, and that's a terribly tragic story that, unfortunately, we don't forget those.
No.
So supervision is absolutely key no matter what kind of toy your dog has. My pup really developed a fetish almost for sticks when he was growing up. And we had this game that we played where I would pick up a bunch of sticks, maybe about a finger's width, and I would throw a stick, and he'd go get it. He'd bring it back, and I'd immediately throw another stick. So we'd go on our walks, and I'd have a bundle of about a dozen sticks because he'd lose them as he walked along. So I'd throw one, he'd bring it back, and then one day he went and got a stick, and it looked like he was having trouble swallowing something.
Oh.
And I looked in his mouth. He had about a 3-inch piece of stick crosswise in his upper jaw. He couldn't dislodge it. And thereafter, the sticks went by the wayside. We found other ways of entertaining ourselves because I just was appalled at how distressed he was having that in his mouth.
Yeah, and it's the opposite of play, that all of a sudden it becomes something to be fearful about and you want to avoid and maybe not play that way again. Those stories I think are few and far between, but they're reminders that your dog's going to eat things, going to sniff things, going to try things, and you're going to want to be there for that just in case.
That's right. Absolutely true.
Claudine McAuliffe is our guest, author of Mindful Dog, teaching reflections on the relationships we share with our dogs. And you can join our conversation about playing and toys at 1-800-642-1234. That's 800-642-1234. And let's go to Jane in Shawano. Hi, Jane.
Hi. I have a rescue dog that we've had for a bit, and we've taught her how to sit and stay, and she kind of rolls over, but she does not seem to want to fetch. Her name is Millie, and she's always been very, very nervous. She gets very frightened at thunderstorms, and 4th of July is an awful time for her. She's always been like that. She used to shake and tremble. She does not do that much anymore. We've had her since we got her during COVID. We've had other dogs before, like border collies specifically, and they are loving to fetch in the air and love all sorts of things, and just real clever, wonderful dogs. Millie is, they think, a dog that is supposed to, I can't remember the name of it, but is a dog that is, some kind of hound that was meant to get wild boars. Anyway, she does not want to fetch. And so we've tried throwing to her and be really excited. She'll get it in her mouth, and then she'll drop it. And then she goes and gets really excited, and maybe she'll bring it back once, and then she just kind of shakes it around, and she's done. And I'm like, oh, Millie. But she doesn't want to fetch.
Oh, Millie, I feel the same way, but maybe not all dogs like a good game of fetch. And I thank you again, Jane, for rescuing yours. And if this is some sort of hound, you'd think they'd be down with a little game of fetch, Claudine. But maybe fear plays a role here.
Well, Jane, thank you so much for calling, and I echo Lee's sentiment about adopting a rescue dog. too many of them out there looking for homes.
Yeah.
Millie is a hound, and hounds are designed to go towards things and tree them or capture them and not necessarily bring them back. So they're not bred to bring things to us. They're bred to go out and get things. And so if we look at we look at what the dogs are designed to do, that may give us a clue as to why they're not able to execute a certain behavior for us. That being said, Millie is undoubtedly very smart. All dogs are. I've yet to meet a stupid one. So if you can get her engaged with something that she likes, maybe it's a ball, maybe it's a squeak toy, you'll have to figure out what her favorites are, and get her to bring it back 1 inch, and then reward that, reinforce that with a treat and praise, and not just one treat, 10, 20, 30, 40 treats. Really overdo the reinforcement. What I've noticed is that we under-reinforce our dogs terribly. We simply don't make it worthwhile for them to do the things that we're asking them to do, and then we wonder why they don't do it. So lots of treats. 1 inch is all you need. Then 2 inches, then 3, then maybe a foot, then across the room. And see if you can build a habit. That's all it is. That's all training is. You're building a habit. And even if a dog is not specifically designed to do a certain task, that doesn't mean they can't do it at least somewhat. So she will never go out and fetch a tennis ball the way a Labrador might or a Border Collie, but can she bring it across the room and have fun with the game? Absolutely. And then in the meantime, it's not the toy that's important, it's the engagement. And I think I notice a little bit of wistfulness in your voice there that it sounds like it's somewhat important to you at least. Mm-hmm. You very much like her to do it. And so start with baby steps, and you can get such tremendous enjoyment out of that. And when you mentioned that she has some fear issues, so many shelter dogs do. That was, when I was at the Humane Society, that was one of the biggest things we tried to do was instill confidence in these fearful dogs.
But Claudine, that fear is not irrational. That fear is trauma. It's post-traumatic stress, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what you want to do is start to bring the dog out of itself into the real world. And in Millie's world now with Jane, that's a good world. Mm-hmm. There are opportunities there that were not available in the old fearful world. So building confidence in this new world and how it operates is going to be your job, Jane, and Millie's job to learn that, hey, this is a fun thing to do. I don't need to be afraid anymore. And then if she learns that game, or if she learns any game, teach her everything that she's willing to learn. You can start to use some of those games and strategies and toys. When something frightens her, get her involved in playing with something that she likes, and see if the confidence that has instilled in her will take her mind off that fearful thing and get her back to a good place.
Claudine, my takeaway from that is reward your dog for playing with you and taking the steps that you want him to take, albeit baby steps, a little bit at a time, but give him more rewards than you think you should.
Absolutely. You cannot over-reward in the beginning process because what you're trying to do, and I think I caught a little bit of George talking about this too, that chemical dopamine in the brain, that reward chemical. Initially in training, it's the treats that get the dopamine flowing. The more treats, the better they are. The greater the quantity, the more dopamine you got. But eventually, that dopamine rush translates from the treats to the object, to the activity. And so you don't need so many treats anymore. When you get into the maintenance stage of any behavior, you use very few treats. You don't need it because the dog has discovered that when I do this certain thing, when I play fetch, when I sit, when I lie down, when I do whatever my human is asking me to do, it feels good. I get a dopamine rush. I don't need that food anymore. And it's just wondrous when you see this response developing. But treats are the way to open the dopamine gates.
I know what it means to give your dog too many treats. That point is actually a physical response, and it requires some cleanup after the fact. So that's where the too many treats comes in.
You need to be judicious about this, so you don't continue that very rich reinforcement schedule past the acquisition stage. The dog has learned the behavior and has learned rather that if I do this behavior, there will be a reward following. The behavior predicts the treats. The execution of the behavior predicts the treats. When you get to that point, then you can start to wean the dog off of those treats, and they don't need to be delivered 20, 30, 40 at a time.
Claudine McAuliffe, our guest, author of Mindful Dog Teaching, reflections on the relationships we share with our dogs. Michael in Hollandtown emailed to say his poodle loves his treat ball. It's a toy that just keeps on giving. Gary emailed to ask about supposedly indestructible Kong toys that his dog is able to destroy. Indestructible, and yet Gary's dog can do it, no problem. Claudine, are there stronger toys for dogs that are determined to chew when they're determined to chew them apart?
My goodness, it's just so natural to hear that the indestructible thing is indeed destructible. There's always a flaw, that we haven't found yet. So Gary must have the black Kong toy for his dog, and if he doesn't, try the black one, because the black one supposedly is indestructible. It's like a truck tire. There might be something that Gary, you can try. It's made by Go Nuts, and I think it's GOUGH Nuts. They make a series of dog toys that truly are like truck tires. And if your dog can destroy a Go Nut, well, then I'm not sure where to send you.
That might be it. What about rawhides? I have heard that rawhides could be bad for your dog, that they could be trouble, that they might, I don't know. I've heard to stay away from rawhides.
Yes, and I think because of that, there are rawhides are actually getting a little hard to find. What I find instead are collagen toys. Collagen is a much easier thing for dogs to digest. Okay. And so but they also eat it faster. My dogs can polish off a 7-inch bone of a collagen in almost minutes, and I don't buy them anymore because they're not a good investment. Rawhide, if you have a dog that's not going to bite chunks off and swallow them, then rawhide might be a suitable toy. And I do, my English Cocker pup, rawhides will keep him busy for a very long time, but he nibbles at them and he chews them into pulp, and he does not bite off chunks and swallow them whole. But again, I watch him very, very carefully, and if he starts getting a little aggressive with it, then I take it away for a while. But my cattle dog mix, there is no way I give her a rawhide. She would bite it into chunks and swallow them as quickly as she possibly could. So you have to determine what's your dog's chewing style. Are they very aggressive, or are they very soft with their mouths? And then pick a toy that's appropriate.
Pat in Madison was wondering what to do about his dog, who is very reactive to a small number of people. The dog is fine with most strangers, but becomes very protective of Pat in the presence of about 5% of people. What can Pat do about this? Eliminate 5% of people from his life, or is there a better way?
Gee, Pat, that's an issue, and the safest way I've found to manage that, because my cattle dog gets her buttons pushed by people who are not aware they're pushing their buttons, just by being warm and friendly and cordial to her. For the safety of all concerned, I manage this behavior by not allowing her access to the people that I know are going to push her buttons, because I have been unsuccessful in saying to people, don't move, keep your hands at your sides, look up at the ceiling, turn your head, don't look at my dog.
That's an
don't
awful
move.
lot to ask of a human being.
It is, isn't it? Because humans want to play. They want to engage with dogs. And she's not having it. She just has had such bad experiences with the human race that she's not having it. So I just keep everybody safe, including her.
I did not expect that my answer would be correct when I suggested that Pat should remove 5% of his people, not from Pat's life, but from his dog's life.
Well, your dog is giving you signals that it's stressed out by this certain trigger.
Yeah.
And why pursue it? If you can get 95% success with human beings, I take that. I take that in a heartbeat. The 5%, that's not bad at all. You can manage that. You can do it, Pat.
Oh, I always... Claudine, what about tug of war? Am I doing more harm than good with my dog? Does it matter on the dog? Because I know dogs that love a good game of tug of war and will fight you to the death for a good, I don't know what we use, thread or whatever, the ribbon tied together. Is tug of war a bad thing for a dog?
That's such a lovely question, Lee, because so many humans enjoy playing tug with their dogs. It just feels good to have that physical activity. No, tug is a great game.
Okay.
When you play with rules, a tug game played with rules can be used to teach all kinds of important lessons. For example, drop it, leave it, bring it, etc. So the way you play appropriately with tug is to have two of them. You have two tug toys.
Oh.
Hold one behind your back, offer the other one to your dog, but do not release it to your dog until your dog sits, gives you eye contact, waits 3 seconds, and you can count down 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, and tug, tug, tug. And you tug, not a long time, and your dog sometimes gets to keep it, but not always.
Mm-hmm.
So after, let's say 5 seconds, which is really quite a long time, you bring the other tug out from behind your back, and you say, drop it, and your dog will probably drop what it was in its mouth because she wants to get the other tug.
Sure.
So then you play tug for 5 seconds. Well, the same thing. Sit, wait 3 seconds, watch, tug, 5 seconds, and then you just go back and forth like that repetitively. Drop it, second tug comes out, and then at the very, very end, you have some incredibly special treats in your pocket, and you pull those out, and you hold them right above your dog's nose. The tug will fall out of your dog's mouth. The dog gets the treats. Tugs get put away until the next play session. Does that make sense?
I think that's a wonderful idea, and it makes complete sense, and I wonder why I've just been playing straight up tug of war for all this time and been playing basically until one of us are too tired to play anymore.
There you go. And by the way, old T-shirts torn into strips and braided can make really good tug toys. If the dog destroys them, it's no big deal,
right.
And they cost nothing.
See, the best toys don't cost a dime, and all it takes is a little bit of your time. Claudine McAuliffe, it is a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for playing with our pups today, and I'd look forward to having the opportunity to speak with you again. Thank you, Claudine.
I would love it. Thank you.
Claudine's been training dogs since 1997, almost 30 years, and it shows. Her book, Mindful Dog Teaching, reflections on the relationships we share with our dogs. Our show continues with the dogs next. I'm Lee Rayburn, and you're listening to WPR News. All things dogs today. I'm Lee Rayburn, and if your dog loves a good walk, then wait till you get him out on a great hike. Our next guest is a certified dog trainer and outdoor recreation advocate based in Madison. She owns 3 Black Dogs Adventure Company, where she trains people and their dogs through outdoor play. Also a supervisor of community programs for Madison School and Community Recreation. Jess Katie Bartholomew joins us now. And if you have a question about what it would take to get your dog into the great outdoors in a way that you can both enjoy, you are welcome to join us. Or if you have a story to share about maybe even a horror story about taking your dog on the trails and ended up with a result you did not expect, please, 1-800-642-1234. That's 800-642-1234. And we'll see what we can do about that. You can also email us, talk@wpr.org. Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you just let me know that you were one of Larry's students way back in the day. Larry, you took the Larry Mueller School of Radio.
Heck yeah, it was great.
You got your degree.
Yep.
So now my expectations are way up here.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
I'm just kidding. I just want to know what you know, because I have taken my sister's dog around the block. No problem. We're good at that. She knows the block. She knows the smells. I have taken my sister's dog out on the trail, and we are at a loss. We're fighting. We're pushing in different directions. And we end up, I feel like I'm damaging the relationship by taking her out on the trails. And it's not so far from the place where we go around the block, but it's a world's of difference of experience for me, and I'm guessing for poor Rue too. Jess, what can I do?
Okay, there's so much that we can do. And I think the first is just recognizing that humans and dogs have different goals on walks. So a really important piece of that is, as the human, recognizing what it is your dog's looking for. They are not logging Strava. They don't care how many miles you go out and do. A 20-minute amazing experience to your dog could be even better than a 4 or 5 mile hike that you might have in your brain. So I would say the first thing that we need to do is choose the right adventure for your adventure partner.
Choose your own adventure, but you're choosing your dog's adventure.
Yeah.
What does my dog want, Jess? I feel like it's all the smells that they can get. They want to see some wildlife out there and maybe get a little rowdy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe. And maybe that rowdiness leads to some not great walks too.
Yes.
So we might need to see things from a distance to begin with. So I think the most important thing when choosing your adventure is to recognize that no adventure is too small. So your hike might be in a business park, which may not be, it's not the peaks of Devil's Lake, but your dog could go out and have ample space for you guys to develop your relationship together, to work on your leash skills, to be able to see some critters at a distance and really put all of the training that the previous guests were talking about into work in those safe spaces. And then we can start to move towards a tighter trail.
You don't
wildlife.
start by climbing the Alps.
You do not start by climbing the Alps.
You start on a few hills.
Yes.
Maybe move up to a small mountain.
Yes.
And then you consider, the big hike to the peak.
Absolutely.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I just want to jump in, right? And that's no way to show the experience or create the adventure.
Absolutely. And this all really started. So I adopted, like so many dog trainers, a dog that I was like my running partner. We're going to get into this. We're going to go have so much fun together. And he was chaos in a fur package. He was reactive to bicycles. He was reactive to runners. He was a true menace to society. So we spent so many nights in a business park developing our relationship. And as a trainer, I started to just recognize how many other people's worlds were closing in because of a dog that they maybe adopted, or maybe something happened. So finding ways for these animals to be able to participate in recreation, in going out for hikes, we just had to look at it with a bit more of a creative lens. And
start a little bit smaller and move our way up. Are you big on the rewards? Do you overtreat?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Especially at the start when we're working on developing our skills. And even today, I mean, this dog that I'm talking about is 13 or 14 years old today. And he has, bicycles. You'd never know. You'd never know.
Really?
He didn't like a bike. But does he still look at me to grab his little snack? Certainly.
So he sees a bike and he looks at you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, that's my
I'm
reward.
due. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I get my little piece of hot dog. It's not 400 pieces of hot dog like
Like
it
it
was
used to
that
be?
one day. Yeah. So I think that's the first place where people really start to fumble is they have this anticipation or this expectation that you can go out with your dog and, you have that Instagram photo in mind, like you and your dog championing all the state parks or whatever it might be, and then realizing that your dog has a different idea.
You ever have your dog on a leash and you come across a tree and you go one way and the dog goes the other?
Yes.
That's the worst.
Yes, the classic split. Yes.
Oh, gosh. I feel so stupid about it. Like on the human, I should know better, but for some reason, I'm in my own head and I'm not even thinking about it. And all of a sudden, we're stopped dead in our tracks, and I have myself to blame.
I don't think it's stupid at all. I think that is you as a human seeing the trail with your eyeballs and your dog seeing the trail with your nose, and it just is a perfect example of the divergence.
I feel like there is a lesson here for humans that to see ourselves as we are, not like. We're humans. We have these experiences in a very human way, and dogs have them in a different way. And while it's important to understand your dog seeing this or smelling this experience as a dog, it's equally important for you to see yourself as having this experience as a human being, and we do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I think that's the magic when you can start to realize that. You can really start to customize the adventures so you and your dog are both getting what you need out of the experience.
So the magic here is the realization of myself, not so much the dog. I feel like I'm the one getting trained here, Jess.
There you go.
A light bulb has gone off, and I'm not so sure I like what it shows. Let's go to your calls now for our guest, Jess Katie Bartholomew, owner of Three Black Dogs Adventure Company, 1-800-642-1234. The revelation is real. You can also email talk@wpr.org. Kathy in Manitowoc, hello.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I have two Australian Shepherds, and they're and I have a leash that I can walk them both on. And it seems that whenever I have to not go on trails because they're both really prone to aggression towards another person on the trail with the dog. Not the person, the dog. They don't. They're really friendly to the people. But when I try to slowly introduce them or something, the one dog who's 10, she just wants nothing but to be aggressive, and then the younger dog, he picks up on that, and then all of a sudden it's 2-on-1, and it's so totally have to reel them in. And I'm just wondering if there's a way I have no pull leashes, and that helps. But
Sure.
I was just wondering if there's something else I can do to get them to not be so aggressive to other dogs. Is it me or is it the dogs?
No, it's not. None of it is to blame. Sometimes it is truly just the setup. So I'm a multi-dog owner as well, and I think it's really helpful to work on building the skills with your dogs independently. So taking them out for one-on-one. It sounds like you have an age difference in your dogs too. So our younger pup might be picking up on some of the habits the older dog has learned. So really working on those experiences one-on-one, and then maybe finding those places where you're not going to have the run-ins. I love a business park. So where you can go practice with both dogs together is a really successful way to move forward.
There is nothing emptier than a business park, but the problem is when they come across other animals and then they become reactive. And then part of my issue, Jess, is I hear people saying they don't go on trails because they're concerned about overreactive other people's dogs and worried about how other people are handling their dogs, concerns about dogs that may be off leash that become reactive, and how scary that can be for others.
Absolutely. And I think part of the responsibility of being a dog owner and using our public spaces is to make good choices for you and your dog. So knowing that Your dogs might have issues. It's not that you can't be on those trails, but maybe finding trails that are wider, not single track trails where you're going to have really tight passes or not be able to move off the trail far enough. Or finding times when it's less likely that people are going to be out on trails can be really, really helpful to just avoid those situations too.
So we would probably focus on the older Australian Shepherd because it sounds like the younger one is just reacting to the older Shepherd and doing what, learned behavior from that one. And then we're going to take them out to the dog park. And then what's our next steps? What sort of behavioral techniques? How many hot dogs should I bring?
Yeah, load up on the hot dogs. We're going to go to the business park, and we're going to practice just rewarding your dogs when they see a person and dog from a distance. Far away. It could be across the street, far away. So it's that same idea that your dog sees the dog, the hot dog bag opens, and they get treats. With repetition, that dog is going to mean good stuff is going to happen to me. So we always want to be practicing at a distance. This is where it's very helpful to have a friend with a dog or work with a trainer who can kind of set that situation up for you too.
And then you slowly get closer, and then the less reactive, the closer you get, the more treats you get until you hit the point that is the success point for you and your dog. There are some dogs that doing a tight pass on a single track trail is just not going to be an option for them. So it's also okay to communicate with your words to the human and say, this is not going to go well for us. We're going to turn around if you can just give us a little time, or to step off the trail. And I love to play a game called Find It with my dogs, which is basically using those noses. I'm going to take a handful of little hot doggy treats, throw them on the ground, let my dogs sniff them out. So they're focused, they're sniffing, they have a job. Well, that oncoming person and dog pass, just to kind of calm down that situation. So Kathy's older Australian Shepherd is like, there is a threat, and I am protecting my younger dog, and I am protecting my Kathy, and I am going to do so until that threat has passed.
Yep.
Is there a way, and is treats the way to say this is not a threat, or is it just a distraction?
It depends on the situation. So it isn't ideal. So if I know that a dog is going to have an overreaction to a situation, the best thing I can do in that moment is manage, which by all means, like throw the treats, use the food, but I won't call that technique training. That's just kind of like getting through the situation. We really want to think about training as intentional setups in calmer environments. So until I felt comfortable with that dog on that particular trail, I'd be finding some other spaces to go walk, so we also don't get to rehearse or practice that behavior over and over too.
It makes sense. It's not training. That's just surviving the moment.
Exactly.
That's getting through a perilous situation that could turn awful. So you just want to get through it, but nobody's learning anything from it.
It's not the best learning environment. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And Kathy, thank you for the call. Let's go to Michelle in Middleton next. Hi, Michelle.
Hi there. I have a 2-year-old English setter, very sweet dog. She knows her tricks and things to do properly as long as she's in the house or on the deck. But if you take her outside, she will not look at you. So it's difficult to train for better behavior on a walk on the sidewalk or anywhere.
Yeah, that is very common. Inside the house, dog might have all the tricks, be able to do all the skills, and then you step outside and that world completely changes, whether it's the smells, the sights, all of the excitement going on. So this is a situation where creating some predictable patterns really helps. So what we would want to do is before you step out and jump into that walk, and again, this is kind of what the humans always do, like throw the shoes on and like let's go, is recognizing that our dogs need to acclimate to that new environment that they're that they're in. So it might be stepping out your front door and just spending some time walking up and down the driveway, sniffing the sniff, seeing who walked by, who peed on the mailbox recently, and waiting for your dog to be able to just kind of settle into the experience. And what I look for is, can my dog offer me some of these really basic tricks that they might know? It's amazing when your dog has a repertoire because you can call that into play. So, can I get my dog to look at me? Can I get my dog to offer a paw shake? Can I get my dog to, I don't know, if they spin or high five or do some trick like that they love?
I was just thinking sit.
Yeah,
Just sit.
Or sit. Right. Yeah. You can sit.
Basic stuff.
You can do a basic stuff. Sure. Yeah. Can you do that in this environment, or are you still too distracted? If the dog is too distracted, I can't ask them to be successful with more work. We can't start moving down the sidewalk. So we might just continue to do that sniffing. If you pop your dog in the car and drive to a place to go for a hike, you might do this in the parking lot until your dog sort of acclimates to what's going on before you hop on the trail, before you know you're going to have to interact with things like maybe a bike coming up on you or another person and a dog. So really breaking it down, taking it a lot slower.
And smaller.
And smaller. And then every time you do this, so your dog will start to acclimate sooner and sooner, and then you can take it to new environments.
What's going through this English Terrier's mind when they go outside? That they can't be bothered with paying attention right now? Are they overwhelmed sensory wise, or are they on full alert, or is it a combination of all these things?
It could be a combination. This is a great time to take a look at the dog in front of you, but I'm guessing if it's an English setter, we probably have some like, oh, there's birds, or there's squirrels, or there's something for me to get.
There's everything.
There's everything. Yeah. Which, can be over arousal, and whether it's stress, like it's a bad thing or it's a good thing for the dog, it all sort of reacts in the body the same way, and it's a dog who's really going to struggle to pay attention. So we just have to work on helping them like settle in, realize we're going for a walk, we're not going on a mad chase through the neighborhood or
we're
down
going
the
out
trail.
the front door, and once I
Totally.
can get you to do a sit or look at me out the front door, we're going down the driveway.
Yep.
And once we've gone down the driveway and I can get you to sit and look at me, we'll go down the street to the next driveway.
Totally.
I feel like baby steps was a sort of, it's dog steps that we're taking here.
Yeah.
And these dogs need a little bit of time and a little bit of space in order to feel comfortable going with you where they're going, which makes the big long hike seem like an arduous, like that could be a lot of work to get there.
Yeah. And I think, I think that's where people falter a bit, is they just have that big hike in mind.
Let's go.
It's let's start with the little stuff, and don't discount the little stuff. Those walks around the neighborhood can be incredibly enriching. Those walks where you explore one more new block, or maybe add just another turn on the trail, and then we come back, is great too.
Michelle, thank you for calling. Let's go to Lane in Stevens Point next. Hi, Lane.
Hello. I am calling because I'm curious about a couple things, some reactivity in my dog, and then also a question about treats. My dog gets pretty reactive on the leash. She's good with other dogs. She's well socialized. She plays and spends extended periods of time with my family dogs. She goes to daycare, and I haven't gotten any negative reports about her there. But when we're on the leash, she will get really reactive to other dogs, and I would hope, I would think that if she was actually able to say hi to them, it would be all tail wagging and everything, but for some reason she just gets really barky and kind of aggressive. So I'm wondering, I do use a gentle lead with her. It helps a little bit, but if anything, it makes me more anxious, because when she's pulling and then the gentle lead is pulling her back, it kind of looks worse than it is, and that's kind of, anxiety provoking. So I'm wondering if you can speak to that kind of reactivity. And then also, when I'm trying to work with her on these things, and I really like your idea of the business park, I'm definitely going to try that.
Yay.
It doesn't sometimes seem like treats are enough. I know that sounds weird, but, I try pepperoni, I try hot dogs, I try all that stuff. And, if there's something out there more enticing like a squirrel or another dog, I just can't seem to hold her attention, and then it's that cycle where I lose my patience. So I'm wondering if you can kind of speak to treats and how to kind of work with those, especially when the dog's a little bit older. I mean, she's not an old dog; she's 3, but she's not a puppy anymore. So it's it's a little bit harder to entice her with these things.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, kudos to you for breaking out the good treats. I love that. Sometimes it's finding the right food, but sometimes it also is just considering the dog's hierarchy in that moment. What kind of dog is it?
So she's a Woodle, half Poodle, half Wheaten Terrier.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Adorable, right? So I think if it's a dog who normally likes food in the house or in the backyard or when they're feeling more comfortable, but then you get into a situation where they're not taking their treats, we can assume that the environment is overwhelming them in that moment. And in that case, sometimes it truly is finding a calmer environment, finding great sniffs for them. We can use different means of reinforcement to help them get comfortable in areas. If the pup likes to play, you could bring, a tuggy toy, like we were just talking about. You could bring a ball and do some like on-leash ball play just to get them moving their body and maybe not sitting still, which can increase some of that anxiety. You could even bring like a food type of toy, like maybe a snuffle mat or a ball that they could roll around and get treats out of and see if some type of interaction would help in that moment. With the reactivity, so okay with dogs off leash and then struggling on leash is often just frustration. So the leash is a barrier, right?
Yeah.
Like the leash isn't going to let us get close enough. It's only going to let us get 6 feet. And then when we start to act up, super embarrassing. On the human side, we probably add tension to that leash. Like sometimes we inadvertently make a rough situation a little rougher on everybody. So this is, again, another situation where I'd love to teach an alternate behavior to that dog. So when that pup sees another dog, the split second that dog sees the pup, that's when the treats would start coming out if she likes the food. Or I might just create more distance and happy talk. So we might see the dog. I'll invite that dog to come with me. We're going to create distance, which is the opposite of what she wants. I get that. But I'm going to tell that dog how amazing they are. You're so smart. Look at how beautiful that other dog is. More of those sweet nothings, just that happy voice. And then see if she's kind of interested in taking treats, but making it abundantly clear we are not even going to practice doing that approach because 99% of the time you're very bad at this, and we're not gonna practice that behavior. So once we can start to see dogs walking by at a distance, that again is when we can start to close the gap a little bit. So slowing it down just a bit, I think, and
slower and smaller seems to be the way to go.
Yeah.
I like that. And Lane, for my sister's dog, it ended up being highly processed American cheese slices. For some reason, that was the one that got the roux coming back to me. So maybe you want to give that a try. Jess, I understand I've got about a minute here, and I'm sorry we're running out of time, but you've got a book coming out that's going to address a lot of this.
Yes, I do. I don't quite have a timeline on it yet, but I'm hoping 2027. This book is going to be specifically hiking around the Madison area with your dog.
Really? Do you have a title yet? Like Jess Katie Bartholomew's hiking around Madison with a dog?
Currently untitled.
That's a lot.
Little long, yeah. But I would say if people are looking for an excellent book, my friend Danielle St. Louis wrote A Dog Lover's Guide to Hiking Wisconsin State Parks. And I helped her out with the training portion of that. So I think that would be an excellent book to check out in the meantime. And hopefully we'll have a new one for you next year.
A Dog Lover's Guide to Hiking
Wisconsin State Parks.
Yeah. And who's the author?
Danielle St. Louis.
Danielle St. Louis. Well, that should be easy to remember. And Jess Katie Bartholomew, we'll be looking for your book to come out at some point next year. And when you said 2027, I'm like, oh, that's a ways. No. It's it's getting closer every day. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for helping our pups today, and I look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much.
Jess Katie Bartholomew, certified dog trainer and outdoor recreation advocate based in Madison, and owner of Three Black Dogs Adventure Company. Her book coming out soon, and we'll have her back when it does. I'm Lee Rayburn. Thanks to our team today, Joel Patinaud, Clara Neipert, Jeff Robbins, our executive producer, Jill Nadeau, and thank you for being a part of our puppy show today. You're listening to WPR News.